Behind every headline is a room no one wants to enter. A room lined with photographs, boxed evidence, and stories that stain. Welcome to True Crime Obsession, where we walk the corridor between fact and fear. Lock the doors, kill the lights, and let's open today's file. In the quiet town of Aberdeen, a child was born who would one day become one of the most infamous women in Australia's history. Her name was Katherine Knight. From the moment she entered the world, violence surrounded her. Her mother, Barbara, was already at the center of a scandal, an affair that tore apart two families and forced her into exile with her new lover, Kenneth Knight. But behind closed doors, life was anything but safe. Kenneth was a violent alcoholic. He assaulted Barbara regularly, sometimes saying her multiple times a day. Barbara, embittered, often confided in her daughters, describing her hatred for men and her disgust for sex. For young Katherine, these were her bedtime stories, and they twisted her understanding of love, intimacy, and power. By the time she was 11, Katherine claimed she had been SA'd by family members, though never her father. Those who knew her say this violent, toxic home life shaped her into someone who could never tell right from wrong. At school, Katherine was a paradox. She could be a model student, polite, well-behaved, even award-winning. Yet she was also a bully, known for sudden violent outbursts. Once she assaulted a boy. Another time, she attacked a teacher with a weapon. At 15, she left school unable to read or write. She found work in a clothing factory, but soon landed her dream job at the local slaughterhouse. There, Katherine felt at home among the knives and carcasses. She loved it so much, she decorated her bedroom with her first set of butcher's knives, hanging them above her bed. But it was in that slaughterhouse that she met her first husband, David Kellett, in 1973. David was a heavy drinker, haunted by horrific tragedies that plagued him, a friend crushed before his eyes, and a bus of schoolchildren hit by a train. Katherine and David married in 1974, but their wedding night would set the tone for what was to come. Upset that David had only slept with her 3 times, Katherine tried to strangle him. Her mother had warned him, "Don't upset her. Don't cheat on her. She'll unalive you." Their marriage spiraled into violence. When David came home late one night, Katherine set his clothes on fire, then fractured his skull with a frying pan. Even while pregnant, her rage never stopped. Eventually, David left. But Katherine's fury only escalated. She spiraled into mental breakdowns. She placed her newborn baby on a train track and would be admitted to a psych ward, where she would spend several weeks after being diagnosed with postpartum depression. She also slashed a woman's face with a knife, kidnapped her, and even held a boy hostage. She was repeatedly hospitalized, but always released, and each time she came back worse. Katherine's relationship followed a chilling pattern: violence, threats, control. She even killed a boyfriend's puppy for no other reason than to prove what would happen if he ever cheated on her. And yet, men kept going back. Then came John Price. By all accounts, John was a good man, a devoted father of 3, well-liked by everyone who knew him. In 1995, Katherine moved in with him. His children liked her. At first, things seemed good, but Katherine's temper returned. She demanded marriage. John refused. Her revenge? She destroyed his career of 17 years, reporting him to his boss for taking discarded medical kits from work. He was immediately fired. That same day, he kicked her out. But like so many before him, John couldn't stay away. He let her back into his life, but not into his home. Their relationship became even more toxic. The fighting became even more frequent, and most of his friends would no longer have anything to do with him while they remained together. They were right. In February 2000, after a series of assaults, one in which led to Katherine stabbing John in the chest with a pair of scissors. John finally had enough and took out a restraining order against Katherine. At work, he confided in colleagues, "If I don't show up tomorrow, it's because Katherine killed me." The next day, his words came true. On the night of February 28th, John visited neighbors before going home in order to avoid Katherine knowing she would be pissed about the restraining order. John returned home late that evening to find that Katherine had sent his girls to a friend's house for a sleepover for the night. Katherine arrived later that night. She watched TV for a bit, then took a shower, dressed in new lingerie, and seduced him. The next morning, when he didn't show up for work, neighbors noticed his car was still in the driveway after 6 a.m. This was unusual, as John usually gone to work by then. Out of concern for John's well-being, neighbors and a co-worker would come looking for John. When they arrived, they noticed blood on the back door. They immediately alerted police, who forced their way in, and the scene was unimaginable. There was blood everywhere. Katherine was unconscious from taking handfuls of pills, and John Price was mutilated beyond belief. According to blood evidence, Knight stabbed Price with a butcher's knife while he was sleeping. Price attempted to escape, but Katherine chased him down. However, John was able to make it to the front door and get outside. Somehow, he ended up back inside the house, although it was unclear if he stumbled back in or was dragged inside by Katherine, into the hallway where he eventually bled out. He had been stabbed 37 times in the front and back. Several hours after Price had died, Knight skinned him and hung the skin from a meat hook on the door that led into the lounge room, his head still boiling in a pot on the stove. On the table, Katherine prepared plates of cooked meat, vegetables, and even gravy. She placed cards on each plate with the names of his children. The most horrific part is the meat that was cooked was parts of John's body. She planned to feed him to his children. It was noticed that one plate was thrown in the backyard. It is speculated that Katherine prepared a plate for herself, but couldn't bring herself to eat it. Katherine was arrested, and initially she pleaded guilty to manslaughter, which was rejected by the courts due to the nature of the crime and her violent history. She would change her plea to not guilty, which would send the case to trial. The jury selection would prove difficult, as some jurors had to be excused due to the graphic nature of the evidence. Katherine would change her plea once again, but this time she pled guilty. The jury was dismissed, and the judge would order a full psychiatric evaluation to ensure she understood the plea she was entering. Katherine was formally diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and declared mentally competent to enter her plea. During the sentence hearing, her lawyers asked for her to be excused from hearing certain details, but the request was denied. When Timothy Lyons testified about skinning and decapitation, Knight became hysterical and had to be sedated. Although a full criminal trial would not take place, a sentencing trial was necessary. On November 8, 2001, Katherine would become the first woman in Australian history sentenced to life in prison without parole. In June 2006, Knight appealed her life sentence, arguing that the penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole was too severe for the crime. The appeal was understandably denied by the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal. She has never admitted guilt and never shown remorse. But the question still remains. Was Katherine Knight the product of a horrific childhood? Or was she born a monster, destined to commit one of the most disturbing crimes in history? Let us know what you think in the comments below. That's case closed. Well, at least on paper. Let us know your thoughts about this story. Was the punishment fitting for the crime committed, or should it have been more severe? If you have a story suggestion, leave it below in the comments. Before you go, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who is obsessed with true crime like we are. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story. Until then, stay obsessed.